Hey guys, welcome back to ArtosisCasts. Doing kind of a different game here today. A couple of players who have not qualified for ASL yet, but are maybe on the brink of it. Here in the top left-hand corner of Invader, we have TaEnGu. If you don't know who TaEnGu is, the person you should think of is probably like Ride Sky. I've done a lot of his games. I have done some TaEnGu games as well, so you might recall him as well. But this guy is like a 2800 to 2900 MMR Terran player. One of these really very strong like ladder kings that has not made it into ASL yet, but literally plays with the pros every single day. His opponent in the bottom right, this is actually not a Korean player. This is China's #1 Protoss player. It's ZhanHun. ZhanHun is kind of known as being an aggressive Protoss. He's also very good at macro, though, and is definitely pretty high up on the ladder. You would look at this and say TaEnGu is probably favored. He's probably a better overall player, but honestly, it's a two-player map and a strong Protoss player that does a lot of aggressive moves. So that actually might weight it towards ZhanHun, but it's a little bit hard to say. So that's kind of why I looked at this and said, you know what? I think this could be a pretty darn close match. So we'll see if that's how it's going to end up being. We have ZhanHun getting over here and immediately harassing with that probe, getting that gas down before TaEnGu can take it. But he doesn't have any proxy gate or anything. You can see a very quick SCV counter scout going out to check out what's going on. And in fact, he's checking for proxy gates. That's why he went this way. You know, this area is buildable. It's buildable up to about there-ish. And then, of course, this entire area is buildable as well. I mean, you can get up to the third base and stuff like that, but then it starts getting so far away that are the gates worthwhile to be proxied in such a location? Anyways, he is going for that counter scout. In the meantime, ZhanHun just putting some damage down on these SCVs. Let's take a look. Yeah, it looks like not too much. He's still got decent health on this one, making a Marine, and he actually misses the depot. So maybe a little bit too heavy on that micro there, because this depot, he is going to get supply blocked, at least for a moment, right? Like right there, he's going to get supply blocked on building the second SCV. But yeah, looking at this, a Zealot is out. It is going across the map. By the way, that supply block is occurring. Notice how he's not making an SCV right now. There it is. So a little bit of a misplay there, I'd say. But he does try to throw down this engineering day. This is like a very common move to do right now against these offensive gas builds, because the most powerful thing you can basically do right now as Protoss is offensive gas, rally Zealots in, and make a Nexus. Because by rallying the Zealots, you force a lot of Marine production. Plus, Terran has to get rid of their gas. Plus, they need to expand, and they can't expand without the bunker there. So these two Zealots start to go across the map. Is there going to be a third Zealot? Probably after he starts the cybernetics core there. Looks like one Zealot is going to go home, and the other Zealot is going to go up and just kind of stand here watching for anything that comes out. Now, 4 Marines go in the bunker, but let's see if he actually starts, right? So here is the cybernetics core. Will we see a third Zealot? You don't have to go third Zealot, but it is pretty popular. And if you do go third Zealot, you're going to see 3 Zealots run by. Here, it looks like he's more than content to just sit and block any SCVs coming in, and in fact does not go for that additional Zealot. So looks like TaEnGu is going to be completely fine in this situation. In fact, look at this. He's throwing down a depot here, and he's going to land a barracks. Here's the funny thing. If you go instant third Zealot, in this type of situation, the 3 Zealots actually run in before a barracks can float this far. This is how often this stuff happens, that I know things like this. That literally the 3 Zealots run in when the barracks is like here. So, yeah, he isn't going to end up doing that anyways. ZhanHun not going for that kind of apish play. And TaEnGu is completely safe at this point. Second geyser going up for TaEnGu. That is a very, very fast second gas. I'm actually kind of wondering what he's going to end up doing with that. One thing to mention is that we have range on the way, as well as 2 gates, right? So, honestly, okay, looking at this, I kind of like ZhanHun's play, like, maybe a little bit more. Just the fact that he's going into 2-gate range right now against a Terran player, and of course, he doesn't know exactly what TaEnGu's doing behind here. Obviously, he assumes that there's going factory and everything, and it is, in fact, going to be 2 factory. This is very standard. But the fact that TaEnGu's getting the second gas, well, we'll see if he continues mining it or not. But when this pressure comes up, he is going to have to repair with a lot of SCVs on the bunker. Because 2-gate Dragoons with range against such a late factory, like, look, right, we still have, what, 20 seconds left on this, 25 seconds for the building time, and then 50 seconds for siege mode to finish, right? So that is a long time. It's like almost 2 minutes before he's going to have siege mode ready to push Dragoons back from that bunker. So that is something that definitely he can lose a lot of minerals in there. A 3rd factory gets started here for TaEnGu. He's got a big gas bank at this point. We'll see. I mean, he's going to be forced because there's going to be so many Dragoons. As soon as there's 4 Dragoons, it's like you basically need siege mode because they 2-shot a siege tank. But yeah, like we'll see how it goes down. Like I like the fact that he's going for the quick 3 factory. You know, he's going for the armory here as well because he does have all that gas. ZhanHun, in the meantime, getting his 3rd Nexus going. Robotics going up. Gateway going up. He'll probably go to 4-gate right away. I'd be surprised if not. Probably 4-gate observers, my guess. Anyways, looks like we are going to have a little run-in. Beautiful block here from TaEnGu. Look at that. Trying to target down some SCVs. You do have to repair this 100%. If you lose a bunker, the game is over. You cannot be losing that. That's for sure. And you know what? That's a huge amount of damage output as well with the Zealot on there. Part of what ZhanHun was doing there is blocking surface area in the bunker. Sometimes you actually see a further run-in, and that's why TaEnGu had 4 SCVs up at the front. If he didn't have the 4 SCVs up at the front, then you can actually run next to this bunker because we have a supply depot in the way up here, and SCVs don't fit there to repair, and you win the game. So you have to be super on top of getting SCVs into the right position so that you do not die. Now, only 4 SCVs up here to repair, so he does try to break out, but it doesn't work once again. TaEnGu is blocking absolutely everything ZhanHun does. You know, at the same time, look at this. ZhanHun is up 7 workers right now. He's got his 3rd Nexus up and mining. Yeah, he did go into an instant 4th gate. Citadel coming up here. And I think he'll just add more gates as well. He'll probably start Zealot legs. I think he's just going to go very heavy gateway from here. Now, I'm not sure about that being the optimal play, but of course, TaEnGu can't tell what's going on. He's just now starting his academy. He did get the engineering bay and is throwing down a couple of missile turrets here. Really kind of interestingly placed turrets. Not very... like, his natural's very well defended, nothing defended in the main base. But, of course, if there is Reaver, you know it is going to be a little bit late in a game like this. Now, 2 siege tanks at a time as well as vultures being produced. I do think that there will end up being a little bit of a timing where TaEnGu may be able to push out and get into a good position. ZhanHun right now just kind of rallying his Dragoons forward. He does have an observer going. The observer is absolutely key to get up here, and he needs to not lose it. Honestly, if he can just sit it here and see what the unit movement looks like, that's probably going to be good enough for him. Let's take a look. Okay, he sees the turret. He sees the bunker. He sees Academy. Good scouting. Good stuff. This sees anything leaving that base now. The Dragoon's going to run back for now. He does have this kind of nice wall so that vultures can't really run up. And as you can see, basically on Gateway Man right now. He's got 7 gates up and going. He is going for a shuttle. He is going for Zealot legs as well. And yeah, it's really looking right now like, you know, it's basically Gateway Man going against a TaEnGu here who just threw down a couple scans. He is pushing forward with his upgrades at Starport coming along. 3rd Command Center, adding those additional factories as well. Like, I gotta say, this is, like, I know that it's not that much, like, action since the initial attempted bust on the bunker, right? But there's a lot of back and forth right now. Like, ZhanHun is trying to get himself into a position to suddenly win the game. How would he win the game? Well, if TaEnGu attacks him, ZhanHun will just run it over and win. Like, that'll be it. But if TaEnGu sits back and plays very defensively here while increasing his upgrades and expanding, then suddenly ZhanHun is kind of stuck with this army that doesn't scale particularly well. Now, look at this supply, right? So there's about 8 more workers. but it's up by over 30 supply. So this is over a 20 supply army advantage. It's a very strong army. Again, if you were to attack ZhanHun, he would just kill you. But here he goes. He's going to go for his own attack. The siege tank's mostly down in this area, so that bunker is going to be taken out very easily by these zealots. The siege tank's probably going to have to think about moving forward just slightly here. Oh my god, the zealot's getting absolutely caught and being completely destroyed at the moment. Looks like these zealots are going to get in here, and will they take out one more tank? Yeah, one more tank does end up dying, so it looks like about 4 tanks died. The bunker, you know, maybe a couple depots, a depot, a turret, right? None of that really matters all that much. Now, we are at about 20 supply difference as far as army, but let's take a look at what's actually being made over here, right? Zealots and Dragoons queued up. There's no High Templars as of yet. I don't believe he has Psystorm. He is going to Arbiter play, which matches well with like heavy gateway style. But honestly, I think that TaEnGu has basically done everything correctly so far this game. For him at this point, it's really going to come down to getting his factories down, like adding his factories, making sure he has enough SCVs for the 3 bases. He is a little bit low. He wants about 10 more workers. And just macroing really cleanly, maybe into a timing push, maybe into a 4th base. That's going to be up to him based on where he feels he's at that moment. Whereas right now for ZhanHun, he's going to want to get more bases, right? He's going into that Arbiter play, but you need a lot of bases, a lot of mining going on to be able to refill your army. So he's getting stasis right now. We can see on that production tab, that first Arbiter is on the way. He's adding a couple more gateways in here as well. So going up to 10 gates. And yeah, has that Nexus down at the 4th base. But honestly, he is going to want one more base there as well. If you're going 4 base Arbiter against 3 base, Terran is completely fine against 4 base Arbiter. And TaEnGu is eventually going to take another base. I'm not sure where he's going to be thinking about taking that. Is he going to try to take it down here? Or is he going to take it up here? Honestly, I think down here is a little bit better on Invader. I know it's a little bit further away. This looks much more defendable. But the spread between here and here is very difficult. Whereas the spread between here and here is not so bad. So, yeah, we'll see what he's going to do in a little bit here. ZhanHun right now just kind of removing some of the mines out on the map. A lot of zealots coming in as well, even a shuttle full of zealots. Tons of gateway units all over the place. Probes being transferred down onto this 4th base location. We have that Arbiter coming out. I'm sure that he will start recall relatively soon as well. He's getting that observer speed. I love seeing the observer speed being gotten, you know, pretty quickly here on those 4 bases. And looks like this is going to be where the 5th base is taken. I really like the spread of bases. This base is going to be very hard to attack. If you attack this base, it means that you basically have to expand here, right? Because it doesn't make sense otherwise. You want to expand in an area that will be defended by your push. So the fact that we have expansions going in both directions from ZhanHun, I think that's a very strong play from him. Coming up here, removing some of these mines. You know, he's just pushing back the vision that we're seeing from TaEnGu the entire time. Dragoon down in the bottom. Some good observer spreads. Zealots running around. He's kind of watching all the exit points. In the meantime, we have the recall upgrade as well as Psystorm. Look at this gateway count. Oh my god. 17 gates. Going into those, you know, it's going to be basically Storm, Zealot, Dragoon, Arbiter. Which, of course, that is kind of how you play late game Arbiter these days, is you just start adding in Psystorm. But yeah, 17 gates, right? That's what I said. 8 plus 4, 12 plus another... I'm sorry, that's 16 gates. I don't know why my math is so bad. Anyway, so 16 gateways is a hell of a lot. A lot of Vulture mines being laid down. I feel like the fundamentals of how TaEnGu's playing are extremely strong. Right? Like, he's guarding against the Arbiter. He's not wasting Vultures. You have to be very careful with your Vultures against this type of style, because this is just about massing up, and you have to make sure you're laying a ton of mines. Because you can't actually stop recall. Like, the recall will get in no matter what if the Protoss wants it to. So you need to remove that as efficiently as possible. Now, here is that 4th command center. So it does look like TaEnGu's going to expand up here. And as he expands up here, as I said, he's going to be attacking in this direction. which means that ZhanHun needs to take these 2 bases, and he is already taking this bottom base. So very, very good for him. He's really taking bases very far away from each other, which is really good for the Arbiter player and hard to deal with for the mech player. Now, this is an insane army that we're seeing. Of course, a very good army as well on the other side here. Those Psystorms and Arbiters going to be incredibly important. Where is the Arbiter right now? Kind of looking around. There it is. There it is. Okay, so we have an Arbiter here. I'm going to zoom out quite a bit because this is huge army movement that we have, right? So TaEnGu right now is moving down here. Now, this is only a portion of his army. He needs to be careful with a move like this. Because if this is like, let's call it half your army, and it looks like that's approximately right, maybe it's 40% of his army, and 100% of your opponent's army attacks elsewhere, that can be a little bit tough. He's going to have to bring this back. Look, the vultures are starting to come up, but that's 2 groups of vultures. That's 50 supply of vultures that are not here right now. Zealot's getting on top of absolutely everything. A storm goes down on that tank, just trying to push in. Oh, this would be a great stasis right there. That would be a great stasis. And he hits it exactly. Those 4 sea chinks not going to help out. Gets a couple more over here as well. So far less damage. This natural under fire. This command center, don't forget, this might be picked off as well. Some Psystorms going down on the vultures as they try to come up the ramp. Honestly, he needs to float this command center away. The Dragoons just going to town right now. Vultures coming up, laying a few mines. You have to save this command center 100%. If you're losing a command center at this point, I don't know if you're going to be able to come back against ZhanHun. He is starting to eliminate a lot of those Dragoons. Obviously, all the tanks that were frozen will eventually be unfrozen. And by the way, these tanks just kind of in the middle of nowhere. Not a lot of support around, right? We don't really have minefields. There's like 1 mine there. So, like, these could get taken out. This feels to me like kind of a sloppy play. Maybe he's actually panicking a little bit. His plans have been slightly interrupted, but it doesn't feel like end of the world for TaEnGu. Now, if he can get down here, yeah, he's sending a lot of vultures. I think laying mines, absolutely critical. Killing this base is a great step forward for our Terran player. Looking back at the main base here of ZhanHun, he's added the 2nd Stargate. Love to see that. That's going to force you to start getting into Goliaths as well. You're not going to be able to deal with the overwhelming amount of Arbiters over time, so you are going to need to make sure that you're killing some of those, or at least EMPing them. More Psystorms coming in as well. This Nexus going to be killed off, leaving just a single siege tank to finish it, moving his army up, and it does look like he wants to take this position. Like I was talking about before, I think this is a superior position. He does have this command center over here, but is having a hard time doing anything with it right now. Now, here comes the army of ZhanHun. Gets a couple decent stasises off against the high ground. He will clear these low ground tanks easily, and then there will only be 3 left. Of course, we could see some more units rallying, but this is a very clogged up area. He defended that area very, very heavily. So it looks like this kind of like ragtag army that was down here that I was worried about being eliminated before it killed this. Well, it killed this, but it's still being eliminated. Now ZhanHun kind of moving to the north. He is going to have to reinforce this, but don't forget, right? If you're expanding here, you're attacking this way. ZhanHun going to just evacuate the probes. He knows this base is dead, but this does open up opportunities for him to go elsewhere on the map. Now, it looks like he's just waiting for this stasis to wear off so he can go ahead and hit this. Doesn't have the energy for any sort of recall or anything on this Arbiter. In the meantime, we have a couple Arbiters here. Oh, it looks like they got EMP'd. This attack from TaEnGu doing a very good job at the moment. ZhanHun coming up with more units, but if you look at the actual composition here, yeah, there's Storm, yeah, there's Zealots, but what do we have? 2 Dragoons. So just in general, the overall power of the army, not that strong. You need those Dragoons in there as well. So kind of an imbalanced army. Comes forward here with his other group on the left-hand side, throwing down a couple Psystorms, but you know what? The buildings really playing their role here. Slowing down this attack. They've absorbed hundreds and hundreds of damage. And now you see the split armies here from ZhanHun not having a very good time. It looks to me like TaEnGu has basically done it here. You know, I think this was like a really well-played game, and I think that this is actually a really good one. Like if you're a pretty good Terran or Protoss player, a lot of good fundamentals on both sides this game. But yeah, it seems like TaEnGu, he's secured this base. His attack across the top was good enough because he did kill this base first. So yeah, he killed this base, but then lost the units there. That did slow him. If all the units that we had from ZhanHun over here where instead over here, he would have been able to hold this push, right? So that's something you have to think about. I was talking about it earlier, where it's like, okay, well, if you split your army and Protoss has all their army in one place, generally the Protoss army is going to be able to kill you. Now, if it's 40% against 40% and 60% against 60%, well, that's going to be a little bit Terran favored, right? Like you gotta apply, I don't know, it's like a simple machine, right? Like a lever or something. You have to apply all of your power in one area. That's kind of what you want to do when you're breaking through these armies. You can see these smaller groups not working out for ZhanHun. So yeah, just in closing here, I do think what went wrong was ZhanHun keeping a chunk of army down here to eliminate the rest of the units. I think killing the initial siege tanks was fine. Waiting, because it takes a long time for stasis to wear out, to kill that while engaging the push up here, I feel like that was the big mistake. If he had all of his spellcasters, right, there was like 4 or 5 Psy Storms down here, a good amount of gateway units, and Arbiter in there as well. If he brings them all up, you know, whether he's bringing them up this way, over this way, and brings his entire army to bear in one area, I think he would have had a better fight, and this game might still be going on. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope that you enjoyed, and GG to TaEnGu.